Happy Memorial Day, Rick. This is With the First Pick, the CBS Sports NFL Draft Podcast. This is episode 55. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. It's Memorial Day, which means we're doing a Memorial Day mailbag where we answer your mailbag questions. Rick, if you guys are watching on YouTube, hope you're wearing sunglasses. If you're not, go over to YouTube. You can see Rick's Memorial Day celebratory shirt. It's blue with yellow palm trees, and Rick's biceps are a bulging. Rick, so why don't you give us a quick rundown on that shirt and what you're thinking here?
Yeah, it's a deep ocean blue with pink and green palm trees on it. And I'm getting in the spirit of Memorial Day today. We're going to have a great time with our family. We're probably going to make it a beach day today. Wow. And I see you in your black sweater. Just, you have to celebrate when you get the opportunities to come out and get these chances to get a day off, except we're not taking a day off. We're here still doing our podcast on Memorial Day.
That's right. Hardcore. Yeah, I'm wearing a black t-shirt because I'm mourning the fact that I don't live on Sanibel Island near a beach. So maybe one day, fingers crossed, Rick, I'll work hard and I can even get a tiny taste of the life that you live every single day. If you missed it, Rick and I talked Impact Rookies as well as Impact Rookie classes on last week's podcast. Those podcasts are in the feed, so check those out. As always, you can watch us live on YouTube at NFL on CBS. Give us the old thumbs up while you're there. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. All right, Rick, let's get to the old mailbag because you got some celebrating to do that probably includes a little golf at some point. Quickly, how's your golf game? It was great at the end of the draft season. Where are we now on the golf?
We're in the process of revamping my swing. So I went out and took a lesson, which was the worst thing you can possibly do. Yep. So the last 2 times I played in my men's league, which seems to be I play against guys 80 years and older, and just go out and get humbled every time I go out there.
So I'm assuming you outdrive.
Work on my golf game. My goal this whole summer is to be a consistent 80s golfer, to try to hit in the 80s. And I've done it twice, but with my new swing and my new swing pattern, I shot a 103 the other day. So we have a lot of work to do this summer, but I have a goal this summer to become a very good golfer, and I will try to accomplish that goal as best as I can.
All right, here's a $1 bet, Deebo. Does Rick, over the month of August, average over however many rounds he plays at any course he chooses, does he average 89 and a half? I'll give him that half.
Well, here's what I'm going to have to do then.
I'm giving you 2.5 months to get ready.
I don't like that already because he already said he's aiming to shoot every round in the 80s, so that naturally would be a way.
Yeah, but here's the key words that I heard. When you say, and you're not a professional golfer, I'm tinkering with my swing and I'm getting lessons, that means you are so far in your head that he could be shooting 150 by August if he doesn't tread carefully.
I can tell you my last round. Okay. I was on a par 5 and I parred the par 5. It was 500-yard par 5 because I could hit the ball pretty good. And then all of a sudden, I get into my head, and I'm on a par 3. It's 148 yards. I'm looking. All of a sudden,
I pull out a 9-iron.
I swing out. No, that's about a pitching wedge, but 9. Somewhere close to there. And I'm up there. This guy's thinking, well, God, this guy's pretty good. And I go through my routine and my new swing, and I cock my wrist at the top. Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I throw my hip forward? And my ball went completely 90 degrees to the right, and I hit the people over to the side of me. That was that bad of a swing.
Oh, no. And that round's over then. Like you're
in
your
head. That round's over then. Then it went on to shoot a 103. This was hole 6. So
did you know those people?
Work on the psychological part of the game because when I get mad, I have this bright line and I just want to break everything and it goes downhill. And golf is not that type of game. You've been raised your whole life. And when we played football, is that when you get smacked in the mouth, then go harder or swing harder.
Right.
That doesn't work in golf. So in my new retirement life here with my island shirts and my guayaberas, I trying
chill
to
out.
understand that the less, the better in a golf swing. So I will work tremendously hard on that. And
Love it.
now that it's a little bit slower period for us, I started pickleball the other day.
Well, pickleball's more in your wheelhouse because you can that controlled aggression. But Deebo, I'll ask again, $89.50 bet. That Rick
Yeah,
over the
after
course
that
of August.
explanation,
Yeah.
it seems like a more fair number.
All right, Rick, I'm going to take the over. I don't want to wish you bad, but just for the sake of the dollar bet, I'm going to take the over of 89.5 over your average rounds in August. So you have to be truthful.
I think another fun one could be picking an over under for his best score of the summer.
Oh, that's a good one. I think you're going to say broken golf clubs.
I already broke 3. So I mean, finding out golf is a very expensive sport.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so we'll do you like the under 89.5 over the course of your rounds in August?
Yeah, and I will have to, in order to, not that you question my integrity, I
Yeah,
will
you'll be
send
on.
us a snapshot of my gin scores. So they
There you
are
go.
physically in there.
All
And
right, Deebo, what's the over under for best rounds based on the information you've heard the last 2 minutes?
I mean, he can have one that just comes out of the blue, like
Yeah.
an 84.5.
Oh, I might take. Why? I was going to take the under on that. Is that why are you laughing?
I just don't see that in my future. I appreciate Deebo's confidence in me. I just, now it's going to make me go. Like yesterday, I was so mad. I had some time off. I hit 3 giant buckets of balls yesterday for 2 hours in the sun.
Which is, by the way,
my hands are all blistered right now.
Useless. Like you were so angry that you made yourself worse by swinging. Your hands were numb. You said you have blisters. Didn't make it. You don't need to hit 2,000 balls after you play a bad round.
I take it back. This guy is a complete head case. He is not shooting. He's not breaking 100 this summer.
He is a mess.
No, yeah, it means I just got to hit more. So I should have hit 3 hours of golf balls instead of 2 yesterday.
Power through it. All right, so I'm going to take the over 89.5, Deebo, for the average score over the rounds because he's going to have some ones where he gets so angry that he drives a golf cart into the lake. And then I will take the under of 84.5. I think he gets hot one round. He can't even mess it up with his mentals. He's going to power through. He's going to be in the zone like Mark Lemke back in what was that, 1991 or whatever, when he got red hot in the playoffs. You're going to have a Lemke round. So I'll take the under 84.5 on the single round, over 89.5 for the month of August.
All right, I'll take that challenge, and then that'll, now I know I'm going to have to go do a lot of extra work at the golf range. And our club is still closed because there's no golf course since the hurricane.
Oh,
so, but we do have the driving range open, and I have to hit golf balls into the water because the range does not have. It's not a land range; it's a water range.
do they know that you're hitting it into the water, or are you just doing it on your own?
So I pulled up there yesterday because I was so mad. So I've been going over there every day, and it's just, and they're redoing everything, the clubhouse, everything. And a guy came out with a bucket that was the size of this desk I'm sitting at right now.
He was madder than you?
No, he knew that I kind of get obsessed with something. And right now,
the bucket was for you.
The bucket was for me. As soon as he see me, he goes, I know, instead of you running back and forth to the clubhouse, digging balls out, here is a bucket. Enjoy yourself.
So if I had to guess, the manager said, hey, bring that bucket to Rick, because if he hurts himself carrying that bucket, we're going to be out $500 a day. So make sure he doesn't hurt himself carrying the balls to the driving range. Smart guy. All right, let's get this thing going here. Now we have something to look forward to, Deebo, over the next few months. I don't know how you ever beat Pete Prisco in golf. Not that he's good, but he's such a little nappy, what's the word? Yappy little ankle
Chihuahua.
biter.
Yeah. He's a little chihuahua.
How does he not get in your head?
Because Pete is it's easy to ignore Pete after you see some of the things that he put out in his mock draft this year, the first time I experienced. So now I know that you just ignore it. But Pete Prisco may be the biggest trash talker on the golf course that I've ever played with in my life. And then it's like they get mad with a bad shot. And I said, Pete, why do you get mad? You just suck. So why get mad at it?
maybe you need to bring Pete along with you because you seem to have some laser focus when that happens.
Oh, I'm gunning for Pete. I'm going to make this track across Alligator Alley from Fort Myers over to Fort Lauderdale, and my goal in life is that I won last year when I played Pete. We played twice, and so my goal this year is to just obliviate him when I come over
Obliterate.
there. Obliviate. Will you learn to
Obliterate. Obliterate. Oh, all right, let's go. We got you. You already lost the Paramount Plus. You got the word wrong. All right, here we go. First question. At J. John, that's our guy from England, my dude Johnny, who actually weirdly donated a ton of money back during the St. Jude's telethons that we do right before the start of the season. Do that a couple years, and now he and I are dudes. We talk soccer. He's a Newcastle fan. Anyway, he sends us along. Which genuine contenders still have the biggest position gaps after the draft? Buffalo corners and Dallas running back room feels like issues to me. And I'm guessing if we start with those two teams, Rick, the Buffalo cornerback situation, just as we read this off the sheet of paper here, is a bigger issue in general than having fewer running backs in the middle of May, because you can find running backs. Cornerbacks are a lot harder to come by. And I'll ask you a general question first, that you can answer specifically. Let's say that you're still general manager, you need cornerbacks, you're starting OTAs, and nothing's going to happen. There's no street free agents available. How far down the road in terms of, okay, once we get to training camp and once these teams start getting whittled down, there'll be some cornerbacks available. Are you looking at sort of fringe players and other teams that you might possibly have help you then, or are you just worried about what you can do now?
No, you're not going to be able to get anyone probably this time of year, unless you go out and trade for someone. And what we did was, as we got prepared for the training camp and preseason, we really tried to look at the teams that had a lot of depth at corner, and then that they may have a difficult cut. So those were the teams that I tried to look at. We divided up all 31 other teams amongst all the college scouts, all the pro scouts, and each of us had two teams. And then we would come up with 15 to 20 players on each team that were fourth round or lower, or potential bubble players, or potential cap casualties, because still teams may go ahead and try to make a roster move to make sure they have enough in their budget to get through the season. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down sometime. But we really try to hone in on that and where the depth was. And if you're looking at corner on other teams, and then monitor that situation as you go through training camp, as you go through the preseason. I always felt that if we had a lot of depth at one position and guys that we may potentially move, we didn't want to move them too early, because you can't predict the injuries that could potentially happen in a training camp, or God forbid you lost someone during a preseason game or a joint practice. But when you come down to that 53, and now that you have that extra week to get ready for the season, there's a lot of talking going on. And we had a mass, I guess the best way to describe it is cold calls to all 31 teams. And we divided up the teams and then see if there were any potential deals on needs that we had to fill, or that needs that other teams were looking for. And then we'd get together, have meetings, and then a lot of times you'll see a movement or two right before the season begins. But you're not going to go out and get a Jalen Ramsey, for example. So you really have to dig on guys that have potential to come in and help your ball club.
Let me ask a follow-up. I'm guessing it's not the free-for-all frenzy that trying to sign a bunch of undrafted free agents becomes moments after the draft, but once players start getting cut in August, is there some frenzied element to it, or do you have a sense? Okay, there is.
Yeah, I could tell you this, that we would get that wire when everybody cut down to the 53.
Oh, so no one gets any early information. Everyone gets the wire at the same time.
At the same time. So we usually got it from the league, or received it from the league around 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. All of our reports, which we probably, like I said, 20 reports times 31 teams. That's a lot of reports. And then we would put them in the categories. we would put them into practice squad, potential practice squad candidate, guys that you want to claim that would be help improve your roster, guys that maybe you want to work out during the season, or guys that we had no interest in. So we would go through, and then the guys that maybe out of all those guys that we looked at, most of them ended up in workouts or potential practice squad guys. There may be 4 or 5 to fill a need that we want to put a claim in on. And when the coach, so we would sit there from 7 at night, usually finished about 2 in the morning.
Jeez.
Probably, I just slept at the office, because when the coaches come in the next day, they're getting ready for the season, getting ready for game planning, all that stuff for the opener. When they came in at 7:30, we would have a meeting with the coaching staff. And these are the guys, went through everybody that got cut, the guys that we had an interest in, and the guys that we felt we wanted to claim. And if we claimed a guy, who are we going to cut?
Mhm.
So it's a whole nother process. That's probably the longest day, besides getting through the draft and college free agency, the 53-man cut down. And there's a lot of phone calls going on back and forth right before that deadline is, where you have to turn in your 53-man roster.
All right. So yeah, that actually is that's a lot of moving parts, because I would imagine the coaching staff maybe likes a player they've been working with all summer. Then you have to cut one of these guys to try to get a player that you liked during the draft process. And the last thing I'll ask is, are you going back? Well, you don't have access to the practice film of other teams, but you have to go back and watch the 4 or 5 or 6 snaps they got perhaps during the preseason to get an idea, or you don't care about
Yeah,
that?
no, you're watching all the preseason snaps that they had, and then you're relying back, because these guys already because of the draft process.
Right.
So you probably spend time with them. You have all the draft reports, and then we actually built another board, like a draft board, with the free agency board, and when they were cut, and then had them in specific categories. Once we went through the 2,000 names we went through.
And then it's a matter of, are all the contracts the same, or maybe you pay somebody a little more like you do with undrafted free agents?
If you claim them, you're just claiming that contract.
Oh, right. That's right.
So yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
So that's one less thing.
Yeah, that's one less thing. If you don't claim them, then, we had a group of guys that we would bring 3 or 4 guys in that didn't get claimed, if they didn't get signed back to the original team's practice squad. So
Gotcha.
There's a whole another process and method to the madness that I don't think people realize.
No.
How much time and energy goes into that 53-man cut down, not only for your team, but for trying to look at the league and understanding everybody who was cut. So just like the 8 million names you have on the draft board, the names that get cut on that 53-man cut.
And this is what your pro scouting department does, not the college scouting department, right?
No, our college scouts would be responsible for 2 teams as well. So while they're out there at training camps at colleges, now it's easier because you can get access to the film. So, they're getting their initial visits at the colleges, but they also know they have the responsibility of writing up these players that they were assigned
Gotcha.
in the NFL. Plus, I thought it was always good for the college guys to see the guys that are getting cut, who's making it, not making it, just
That's
to
a good
help them
point.
grow as evaluators as well.
Yeah. Sounds like you're pretty good at your job, Rick.
Now, I'm just trying to make it just an oar in my hand, trying to row the boat the same way everybody else is. Just kind of like on the podcast. Deebo's the captain, you're the co-captain. I'm just at the back.
Deebo is Captain Stubing. That's the Love Boat captain, I think. I'm Isaac, and you're Gopher. Perfect.
Why can't I be Julie?
You can be Julie, the cruise director. I don't know. You're not a cruise director.
I'm kind of funny. I can entertain people.
I don't even know what Gopher did. I made drinks. I don't know. What did Gopher do?
That's what he did. He was a gopher.
Ran around, did stuff.
Yeah, go for this, go for that.
You like that one, huh?
You know what the Love Boat is available on, Ryan?
Don't say Paramount Plus, Deebo. Don't say
yeah.
it. Oh, you hate to see it, Rick. You hate to see it. Maybe one day. Maybe this is the week.
I don't know.
I don't either.
It's tough. It is going to be a long summer.
Between that and golf, I don't know if you're going to make it.
Yeah, no, I was trying to get to bed early last night. My wife came by and she says, "You going to bed?" I go, "No, I got to study for all this trivia stuff. I'm trying to win us Paramount Plus, and right now I'm not doing very. I'm over and trying to get the Paramount Plus app."
You're the first guy getting cut in OTAs at this rate, so you need to pick it up, buddy. Get in your playbook, as they say. All right, I'm going to ask you a question that I know you don't like it when I do, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have a memory that sticks out? If not, we'll move on. Of a player that you signed that was cut from another team during training camp that was able to help the Vikings?
Yeah, boy, I'd have to go back because we did a lot of claims. Most of them are guys that are going to come in and potentially be roster fillers on the back end, depth chart, depth guys, or help on special teams. But I'd have to go back through the Rolodex. Blake Bell, I remember, was one of the tight ends that we claimed that's still bouncing around in the league.
Yeah.
So there are guys out there, and most of those guys are going to be the guys that help fill a need. They're not going to be the premier guys unless you trade for one. But it's amazing how stingy every GM gets when you're trying to get a significant player right before the season.
Oh, like a Sam Bradford, for example.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was like a nightmare. And that's a whole that Teddy Bridgewater going down, and then all the GMs. Yeah, God, I feel so bad for you. Wow, how much for your backup quarterback? Oh, that's a second round pick.
Right. Yeah, it's like your little dinghy is sinking in the middle of the ocean, and they can't wait to help you, but they're going to charge you, overcharge you 10 times to get onto the big boat. All right. Yeah. So let's quickly going back to Johnny's original question here. I'm looking now at the Bills depth chart. They have Trey White. He's back off the ACL. He played a little bit last year. They have Kyrie Elam, last year's first-round pick. Teron Johnson's their nickel back. And then they have Christian Benford, the rookie who played a little bit last year, who sort of surprised in training camp, and Dane Jackson, who's been on that team for a few years. But there's not a lot after that. So in your mind, is that feels like a depth concern? Because, again, like, Teron Johnson's a good player. Kyrie Elam got benched at points last year, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. He was a rookie and competing for playing time. Trey White's coming off the ACL. He's over a year away from that now. I feel like this is probably the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah, but you're saying Trey White's going to be a much better player after a year removed from his ACL, and Elam was a first-round draft pick. So corners, you're going to have to learn as you go out there and play. And there's no question that he has the length and the athleticism. He's just going to have to get more comfortable. And when you draft a corner in the first round, he's going to be at least a solid starter for you. So I think they feel confident that he's going to take another step forward. Dane Jackson has been there a while. He's a good backup that can go in there and make some plays when he has to. Very good special teams player. So they may have felt more comfortable inside than in that building than maybe the outside public perceives of their cornerback position, and that will be determined as we go forward.
And looking quickly at the Dallas depth chart at running back, Tony Pollard's the guy. Zeke Elliott still remains unsigned, I believe. He's no longer in Dallas. Then Malik Davis, who, by my count, had a grand total of 38 rushes last season for the Cowboys, so he doesn't have a lot of experience there. And then, of course, Deuce Vaughn, who got drafted. His dad's on staff there. He's 176.5, I think, so he's not an every down back for sure. Then they have Ronald Jones, who played previously in Tampa Bay, and Rico Dowdle. That feels a little light, but again, this, of all the positions that you need something, you could get these guys in August and feel a little better, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking Dallas knows they have a very good football team. They were very aggressive in free agency and some trades they made this offseason, so they're in it to win it now. So I wouldn't be surprised. It is a concern for me at running back position right now with Pollard coming off the ACL.
I think he had a broken lower leg.
Whatever the injury was. That's a concern. And Deuce Vaughn, who's a very good little football player, but he's not a 1-2. I mean, he's more of a kind of a special cat type category,
right?
Where you can put him in some situations, but he's not going to be a big back that can ground and pound. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zeke ends up signing back at some point with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, interesting.
So the reason I say that is he's had an opportunity to go out there and see what his market is. He's right at the age where the running backs, I think he's 28, 29 years old, going to be 29, where they start, their skill set starts to fall off out of all the positions. When we looked at the analytics, we tried to pick what we called a wall age. And the wall age was when their skill set starts to decline. And the running back was the youngest skill position that skill set started to decline around 28, 29. So now that he knows his market's not what it was, I'm sure he's made enough money where he wants to go out and try to win a championship. Why pick up your family and your roots where you probably have in Dallas and move to some other city? You already know the system. Come in, you're going to have to play for less money no matter where you go, but go play for Dallas and help them win a championship.
He will be 28 in 2 months. So you are exactly right about that. I hadn't heard, I've been paying attention really about what he plans on doing, but coming back to Dallas is an interesting proposition. And you explain why that makes a lot of sense. What if you leave on, I don't know what Zeke's situation is, but just on your experience, what if someone leaves on bad terms? How do they sort of put their tail between their legs and come back?
Well, most of the time when you make, when you have to make cap cuts or cap casualties, as we refer to them, you try to leave it in a very positive manner.
Yeah.
Every vet that I had to release, always left them that we want to keep the door open. You're welcome here. I understand we couldn't come up with the financial package that you wanted. This gives you an opportunity to go out and see what's available. But you have a home here. And if you do have an opportunity and a financial package or something that's out there and you want to come back, let's talk through it before you end up signing with another team. So I always try to make it very open-ended and very positive because I always respected those guys that have been there, that have put their body parts on the line and played their rear ends off for us every Sunday, that I wanted to make sure if they wanted to come back and we were able to afford the contract, that they had a home to come back and finish their career where they started, or to come back and play for us.
All right, well, there you go. Always doing the right thing. Rick Spielman. Great to hear, Rick. All right. The Madden Man asks, staying in Buffalo here, what does the Bills drafting middle linebacker Dorian Williams out of Tulane do for the team? So Dorian Williams is a spark plug. Like, he is a sideline to sideline guy. He likes to hit things. He's not old school 6'2", 250, but he plays like it sometimes, and with that sort of reckless abandon. And they lost Edmonds to the Bears, I believe.
Yep.
Tremaine went to the Bears. His brother's now with Deebo's Eagles playing safety, so he left Pittsburgh. So right now, if you look at the depth chart, they have Terrell Bernard, who they drafted a few years ago. They have Dorian Williams. They have Matt Milano. They have Tyrell Dotson, who hasn't played a whole bunch, and AJ Klein, who is he has a lot of experience, and he'll be depth there. And then Tyler Matakevich, also former Steeler. He's a special teamer, as you look down the depth chart there. So the general question I have, Rick, so when you lose someone like Tremaine Edmonds, a former first-round pick, who didn't quite live up to the expectations, but a fantastic athlete, huge, like 6'4", could run really well. You bring in a rookie off-ball linebacker. What are the expectations for a rookie playing one of the toughest positions on the defense?
Yeah, I think, just reading through Brandon Beane's comments about Dorian Williams, I think they see him as a weak side linebacker lining up behind Milano at first and trying to learn from him. You hope when you draft these linebackers that you can train them at multiple positions, whether Mike, Sam, or Will. But when they first come in, you have to teach them one position first. And then as they grow and learn the defense, learn that position, then you can start cross-training them. So I don't think they drafted him to be a replacement for Edmonds, especially this year. I think that he'll be more of a backup that will start growing into the position and then help on special teams. But it sounds like they have enough internal candidates, especially Bernard, who they drafted last year pretty early, I think in the second or third round. And then he's going to fill the shoes of Edmonds, and he'll get the first opportunity. But I think that Buffalo did not actually draft a Edmonds type body or an Edmonds type linebacker. They're going to go, and maybe they're making some different scheme adjustments to the scheme that they were running now that the head coach is going to run the defense. It sounds like call the defense with Leslie Frazier going on semi-retirement or taking a year off. So they may have a little bit different look going this year. But I think that Williams was drafted as a future guy. Let him learn behind Milano. Let's see how it goes through training camp. There's no question about his speed and his athleticism, but I think he's a weak side linebacker. I don't think he's strong enough yet to learn how to take on blocks. There's no question about his instinct. So to me, that smells backup. Let's learn, develop him, let him go down there and make plays on special teams, and let's see where it evolves as we go forward.
Terrell Bernard, third-round pick last year out of Baylor, 6'1", 224 coming out. That's not necessarily screaming, I'm going to take on a bunch of blocks too, but there are guys playing that position at that size. So we'll see how it goes. And as you mentioned, Sean McDermott, former college, not teammate, but I went to college with Sean McDermott too. How you like that?
Jeez, you got all connections all over the world.
So if you add up Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott, and me, we are worth tens of millions of dollars, Rick, just so you know.
And you're the tens of dollars?
I provide the 10, they provide the millions. All right, TXBI5 asks, has the Seahawks run defense improved? Well, let's take a look. So, no Jalen Carter. We thought that might be in the plans there at 5. They moved off to Jalen Carter. No Tyree Wilson. We thought that might be a situation, but he ended up going to Vegas. There were some foot concerns by some teams. Vegas didn't care. Hopefully he's healthy and has a great career. Instead, what did they do? So they got Devin Witherspoon to pair with Tariq Woolen. So that doesn't necessarily help the run defense, although it does on some level. Let's start there. So Devin Witherspoon actually does help the run defense, but in a unconventional way, right?
Yeah, as long as if he's willing, he's more. I mean, to me, he was the most aggressive corner,
right,
as far as run support, filling off the edge. So on that outside zone stuff, on anything outside the numbers, the jet sweeps, the like I mentioned earlier, the outside zones, he's going to definitely help him in that area. But you know, you have to look at why they were probably going to improve in the run defense. They went back, brought Bobby Wagner, which I think will be a huge help for them, who manned the middle and is kind of the leader of that team. And I really like Cam Young when he came out of Mississippi State. He's a 2-down nose tackle, not a great pass rusher, but he can hold the point. He's instinctive to get off blocks. He does have some twitch to him, moving up and down the line laterally. So I think that Witherspoon, but Cam Young and signing Bobby Wagner will definitely help improve their run game.
Also, getting Jamal Adams healthy would be a huge get. He is routinely leads defensive backs in sacks because he plays close to the line of scrimmage, and he's actually really good as a pass rusher. So that stands the reason that if he's near the line of scrimmage and he likes to make tackles, he'll help against the run as well. They got Draymond Jones from Denver. They got who else they get there? They got there's someone else I was looking at earlier. Mario Edwards, they got from Tennessee. They had depth there as you look over their roster here. Nwosu, they got from the Chargers. So the issue last year was their front seven, and it feels like they did a lot of things to address the front seven. Derek Hall, they drafted on day 2, the edge rusher out of Auburn. A little juice there. He sort of feels like a Darrell Taylor type player. I think Jordan Brooks is battling an injury, so we'll see where he is by the time the season rolls around. But they have a lot of good athletes. Boye Mafe is a guy they drafted last year in the second round out of Minnesota, who should improve. We talked about Kyer Elam getting better in year 2. You would expect Boye Mafe to do the same. Good athlete. Devin Bush out of Pittsburgh. Didn't work out in Pittsburgh. We'll see how he works out as a backup at the linebacker position. Any of these names among the top, the front seven that you think has a chance to be sort of a difference maker?
Yeah, Draymond Jones. I think that was he has an opportunity. I think he's a defensive end / tackle that's not talked about a lot, but he brings a lot of value to him, both as a run defender and pass rusher. And I can't tell you probably how excited they were to get, even though he's longer in the tooth and coming towards the end, to have a leader like Bobby Wagner, who is still very instinctive.
Right.
And that will definitely shore up that run defense for them.
It is not crazy to think that Seattle wins this division, right?
No, not at all. I think
Yeah.
they're going to push San Francisco has a very talented roster.
Big question mark at the biggest position.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
But not kicker. They drafted a kicker in the third round.
We'll see. 99th overall, Mr. Moody.
Yeah.
All right. At Stub67 asks, how do you think the potential rise of the XFL, USFL, etc., impacts the recruitment process of NFL teams? So what we're seeing, and our guy Emery Hunt is all over this because he never sleeps and he covers every league on planet Earth. He'll let you know when a player from one of these other leagues gets a tryout or an invite to an NFL camp. What is the process like from the general manager's perspective when you see these leagues going on? How do you have scouts who have other responsibilities keep an eye on what's going on in these professional leagues?
Yeah, that falls under the pro department. So
Okay.
those guys they're involved in the draft, but not as deep as the college guys. They may be some checking doing from the pro department, but their responsibility is to cover the XFL, to cover the USFL, to cover the Canadian League, to cover anything coming out of the Arena League. So they are monitoring not only all 32 teams, but also all these other leagues that are popping up. And, so like the XFL, they'll get all the tape from the XFL. There may be 3 or 4 or 5 guys that pop out of these leagues, just like you're covering the Canadian League, like we did. Part of our pro department's responsibility during the season was they're doing their teams and evaluating the teams and doing the advanced scouting, but they're also breaking down the Canadian League. So in December, when the Grey Cup was over, we actually had our Canadian Combine. So we'd bring in the top 6, 7, 8 players from Canada that they identified, had a combine during the season when it was eligible for them to work out, and try to identify 1 or 2 of those guys to potentially sign. Once they were eligible to sign with us, they had to be in their option year. So in order for them for NFL teams to look at, but the XFL, I don't know the exact language, but I'm assuming that they are free reign to sign with any team after the season, XFL and USFL guys. I don't know if I may be crazy here, but thinking of
Yes.
would it be interesting? Like I asked this question and I didn't get a direct answer, was if an XFL player, because their season just ended and they didn't get signed by an NFL team, can they jump over to the USFL now since they're playing and the XFL season is over, which I don't think their contract allows them to do that.
No.
But especially a kicker or punter, hey, I just kicked and punted in the XFL. Maybe I can go make a few more bucks and do the same thing. That'd be a lot of football, to play XFL, USFL, and then, hey, I'm going to go to an NFL camp right after this.
Maybe you should play in the USFL this season so you can take some of that aggression out on the golf course and you can channel it towards USFL. That'd be fun. Hey, let me ask you,
how about this crazy concept?
All right, what?
Do you ever think that the XFL and the USFL would ever kind of play their season simultaneously and then have an XFL champion, a USFL champion, and then have the 2 champions play each other for a world title?
You could
kind of like I was thinking back in the day, right? When was the American Football League, and eventually they ended up combining, and that's what became the NFL.
Well, that's before my time, but baseball used to be that way. The American League and the National League never played during the season, and then obviously you met in the World Series, or you could call it Champions League, Rick. You could do that, which you can watch on Paramount Plus if you knew how to get Paramount Plus.
I know how to get it. It's just you guys put in a lot of giant hurdles in front of me.
Giant.
I think it's a conspiracy theory right now.
Yeah.
That everybody at CBS is holding me back from getting Paramount Plus because they like the idea that I'm the only employee / consultant at CBS that does not have access to Paramount Plus.
You know what you sound like? You sound like the 6th-string cornerback trying to explain to his family why he got cut. Here's the thing. I was the best player there, but no one would pay attention to me. And now I got to come work at the family farm.
Well, that's why I have to wear shirts like this, just so someone can notice me.
The mission accomplished. So let's talk about this. So, baseball has minor leagues, NBA has minor leagues, professional soccer, they loan players out, young players, they want to get experience. Is there a benefit, maybe not necessarily for skill position players, but for specifically quarterbacks to get as many reps as possible, no matter the league?
Yeah, and that was a big question. And when some of the committees that I served on, it was like, is it worth developing a minor league system? But the cost was kind of, they tried to do it with the NFL Europe, when they had that going on. But is the cost worth it? But
Right.
now I'm just seeing with all this XFL, USL stuff, guys that maybe not be ready or get a chance to be NFL players. Maybe some of these guys do service like a Kurt Warner,
Right.
who was a nobody really till he went and got experience in the NFL Europe, and then ended up getting his opportunity when Trent Green went down with the ACL. Do you know? This is a trivia that I was at that preseason game when Trent Williams, they were playing I was in the St. Louis Rams, the dome they played in St. Louis, and I believe they were playing the LA Chargers. Deebo, our crack spot boss, can check this, but I think they were the LA, or was the San Diego Chargers at the time, in a preseason game, and Trent Green went down, and it was so doom and gloom because they lost Trent Green, but no one knew who Kurt Warner was at the time.
So I bet that might have been Stan Humphries' era I'm trying to think who was playing for the Chargers back then.
Yeah, it was Dick Vermeil was the head coach of the St. Louis Rams.
The Rams.
Or was it Martz?
No, it was Dick Vermeil, because Dick Vermeil won the first Super Bowl, and then I think he retired, and then Mike Martz came in. I think that's right.
Rick, who laid the hit on Trent Green in that game that forced him to suffer the injury? A very notable player, future Super Bowl champion.
Oh, I know who it is. I'm guessing, but I know who it is. It's you go ahead, Rick.
Can you give me his college?
I think he went to. Did he go to? I don't know if he went to USC or not.
He went to a college similar to yours.
Oh, he was a small school guy.
Whose college?
Yeah. Well, we both went to small colleges, so I'm just assuming he went to small school guy.
No, very, very similar in name to Rick's college.
Oh, Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
Wait, Rodney Harrison?
Yep.
Ah!
Oh, wow. That's why you have Paramount Plus.
Where did Rodney go? I knew he went to a small school.
Western Illinois.
Western Illinois.
Western Illinois.
That was a good football player right there.
Was I right? Were they playing the Chargers?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Rodney Harrison played for the Chargers. Rick, come on.
How about that memory?
That is pretty good. What were you doing there?
Scouting. Getting ready for the 53-man cutdown.
Oh, that you were doing the job that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming that you had a do not sign Trent Green grade after that game.
Why?
Because he tore his ACL. That was a joke.
Oh.
Too soon? Sorry, Trent. Our colleague Trent Green does a great job in the booth. All right, moving on. At Alone Down Here asks, and clearly this is a Rick Spielman burner account. Hey guys, as a longtime PFF fan, I heard the great Rick Spielman on there and started listening to With the First Pick. Well, thank you, Alone Down There /Rick, for those kind words and for listening to the podcast. Tell your friends. As a lifelong Patriots fan, I would like to hear what Rick thought about Bill Belichick and what he would do to fix the Patriots. Well, I can tell you that the first answer is he would fire Bill Belichick. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, no. I think the biggest thing the Patriots have to do is figure out what they're going to do offense. And finally, they hired Bill O'Brien, which I think will make a difference. They have to prove that they can be very successful without or post Tom Brady. So it's all going to be on Mac Jones right now. I think I don't know if they have the greatest skilled players around Mac Jones. They have very good running backs. They have solid, but there's no true number one receiver. Do they potentially go out and make a trade for a Judy or, another prominent receiver out there? I don't
KJ
know.
Hamler, Cortland Sutherland, they're all in the Broncos because they have so many wide receivers because they drafted Marvin Mims.
Right. And I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins is even an option or not, if Arizona will look, or if New England would be interested in that. But I think they still need to get some more weapons. They can run the ball, but I'm concerned most about their offensive line, especially at the offensive tackle position. I believe I just saw the other day, they cut Kajus, who was a offensive tackle out of West Virginia a few years ago.
Yep, he's gone.
They signed Riley Reif, who to me is a veteran backup type. Wynn signed down there with Miami. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I mean, they still have Trent Brown, but who's going to be the starting other tackle?
So, right, they have Riley Reif at right tackle. Behind him, Connor McDermott, who's with the Jets last year in a backup role. Trent Brown on the left side. Behind him, if you can tell me who's behind Trent Brown without looking at the depth chart, I'll give you another free Hawaiian shirt.
I can't do that.
Calvin Anderson. So, exactly.
I know school, Texas.
Oh, okay, nice. I didn't recognize the name, I'll be honest with you. Then Andrew Stewart behind him. Cole Strange, who they drafted in the first round last year, had a good season. David Andrews is a center. That's fine. Michael Onwenu out of Michigan. And then after that, a ton of questions. So they drafted City So. They drafted
everybody in the middle.
They drafted everyone in the middle. That's right.
They didn't draft any offensive tackles.
So that's and again, we were talking about the sort of the cornerback position with the Bills. Tackles, I would imagine, are much harder to find once cut down day happens around the league in August. And when it does happen, I would imagine there's more of a frenzy there than any other position.
Yeah, you rarely see corners. You rarely see offensive tackles that can play legit starters that get cut at the 53-man cut down.
And a lot of times, or at least I would imagine, if those players do get cut, it's because of the contracts. It's not because of anything else.
Right.
So then you have to sort through that.
But then here's the other caveat, is that some of these guys that get cut that are vested veterans, you may not want to sign them week one, because that if you sign them as a vet and they're vested, then that contract, even if it's minimum, is fully guaranteed for the rest of the year. So a lot of times you'll see teams wait till week 2 before you sign some of these vested veterans that get cut.
The Steelers used to do that every year, the last 2 or 3 years with Charlie Batch, the backup quarterback.
Right.
They would cut him in after week 4 preseason game, and they would just have him hang around and then sign him after the first week 1 game for the reasons you're talking about. And obviously there are conversations where, look, this is what we're going to do, so don't go anywhere. And I'm guessing if you get opportunities, let us know is the situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, but most of the time you unofficially, hey, we want to try to sign you back. I know you're a free agent. You can't have drawers in the deal or deals in the drawer.
Yeah.
You have to wait till they clear and all that other stuff, and you can tell them you have interest. And usually, most of the time, they want to come back to where they started.
When you said drawers,
yeah. So you just got to be careful of the rules there too. But a lot of guys, the vested veterans, especially, have been with that team for a long time, probably aren't going to go anywhere because they're not going to get much money anywhere else either.
So what did you think about Bill Belichick? You didn't answer that part of the question.
Oh, I think he's still one of the premier coaches. Like, I don't know, people come into question of, what he did offensively last year and if that was the right thing for Mac Jones. They still have a very good defense. I thought that their defense played well last year. And they went more, Ryan, I guess, would you say, of a traditional draft where they actually took players that people knew who they were.
They do have untraditional drafts for sure.
Yeah, where they were slotted and they got some very good players on the defensive side of the ball. The question is, can Bill Belichick win without Tom Brady? And Mac Jones is their guy right now, and that's yet to be, and we'll see, but he did bring in Bill O'Brien, who I have the utmost respect for as an offensive coordinator, and he knows Mac Jones. He was successful down at Alabama, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that try to fit Mac Jones's strengths as a quarterback And I think they'll be much improved on offense, although I still wish they had a premier playmaker, especially at the receiver position.
So do you remember playing against Bill Belichick?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think, how far back?
Well, when I was with Miami, we played against them twice a year in the 2000s, and we played them numerous times when I was
That's
in
with Tom Brady.
Minnesota.
Oh boy, so you've had a long stretch.
Yeah. So, and the one thing that made him such a great coach is that you can see they did a phenomenal job of adjusting their scheme every week. So it was hard to pinpoint tendencies and how are they going to attack you. So a lot of the times, what coaches had to do, they had to do in-game adjustments because they could have watched the last 3 games and come up with all their tendencies, and we're going to do this when they do this X, Y, and Z. But then it's something totally different when you played them. So I thought, especially on the defensive side, Bill Belichick was a mastermind at doing different things on defensive side of the ball to continue to confuse the offense and making the offense and forcing the offense to do in-game adjustments on the fly. But like I said, Bill Belichick's maybe one of the greatest coaches that ever coached this game. There's no question about the Hall of Fame. And probably before he retires, he wants the all-time winning record for number of games won in the NFL. And I think he's closing in on that. So, but it'll be interesting to see with Bill O'Brien coming in, how much more efficient and better they are on the offense, because the offense was the issue last year, not the defense.
Yep. And I'm a Mac Jones guy. I think he'll probably be inducted to the Hall of Fame in 7 or 8 years, Mac Jones, with this Bill O'Brien thing. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right.
Okay, dollar.
No dollar. Out of the gates asks, does it bum Rick out when he sees guys guys that you drafted leaving Minnesota?
No, it's part of the game. And as much as it bummed me out when I was the GM there and guys left as I was drafted. So, but I understand it's a evolution. Guys get older, guys move on, guys' contracts get too expensive. So as close as you get to these guys or how much you respect these guys, it ultimately comes down to a business, and you have to make business decisions. And with a new regime there, I know they're have their vision of what that team's going to look like. So we'll see how it all plays out. But it's hard to see those guys go because you identify with those guys. But the hardest part of the GM job was also being calloused enough to make the business decisions regardless of the player. And that's probably the most difficult decisions you have to make from a GM standpoint.
Yeah, going back to Bill Belichick, that was always the sort of talking point with him, that he'll get rid of you early as opposed to late. It seems callous, but it seemed to be working for that team for a long time. I ask you this all the time. Your first year in Minnesota was 2007 as the general manager, right?
You're right. Yeah, I came in 2006.
Oh,
and then 2007 draft.
Oh, okay. 2007 draft, right? So that's an easy question. I was going to say, who was your first ever draft pick? I mean, that's a home run. That's a Hall of Fame pick, by the way.
Do I win Paramount Plus?
No. Can you tell me who your third ever draft pick was?
Gosh.
2007 draft.
Adrian Peterson was the first pick.
Yeah.
Who was I can't.
The second pick was Sidney Rice, wide receiver out of South Carolina.
Yeah.
Third pick was out of Fresno State.
Oh, third pick was out of Fresno State.
Defensive.
Back in 2007?
Defensive back, yeah.
Defensive back.
I'm giving you all the hints I can give you.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Third round. He didn't play a lot, so I don't know if it was injury or what. Marcus McCauley.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was injured. He was a corner.
Yeah, there you go.
Fresno
State. You got Brian Robinson in that draft?
Yeah, he was. We moved up in the fourth round to go get him. Texas, he was, I believe, the premier long or shot put champion. It was incredible on how explosive he was as an athlete.
Yeah, shot put is no joke.
Yeah, and had a great career for us.
There you go. All right, well, I got you on the Marcus McCauley one. I was going to give you Paramount Plus, too, if you told me that one, but you chose not to. Okay. At Skull Chester asks, Would Rick consider becoming a general manager again, or is he having far too much fun being a podcast co-host?
To give all this up? Are you kidding me?
I've asked you this question before when we were driving around Mobile, Alabama, when you're yelling and screaming about how to drive the minivan. I said
positive reinforcement, encouraging you how to be a better driver.
My first thought was, how can I get Rick out of this minivan? I said, hey, do you ever think you might go back into the league? And what's your answer?
It was absolutely, I'm done. So no.
But you've had, look, let's be honest. It's not like no one called you. People were calling you right away when you got fired, right?
Yes.
Have you gotten any calls in the last few months? Can I ask you that?
No, I'll just leave it at that. So no, I am very content on living down here on the island, and very content doing the media stuff, and honestly having a great time. And my wife is a very strong advocate for me enjoying family time, enjoying being things that I haven't been able to do over the past 30
years. You got to spend Christmas with your family for the first time in how many years?
30 some years, without going into the office.
You went to Universal. You got to get your Harry Potter wizard hat on. You got to ride all the rides.
Yeah, it was the first time I ever spent a full Christmas day with my family.
So there you go. Answer is no. We'll see. What if a team offered you $60 million a year? Would you go back?
No, Deebo's offered me that to stay on this podcast. Deebo, if Deebo cut me, I'm sure he'd bring me in. Hey, we're going to let you go. But if there's anything out there and we'd like to have you back, let me just see if we can match that. So $60 million though, you'd have to give that a consideration.
All right, so there is a number. Good to know. Good to know. All right, but it sounds like Rick's done. That's what he told me in January. I had to believe him. He values integrity over everything else, so I'm not going to question him when he tells us that he averaged 85 over the rounds in August, and we have to pay him $1. We'll see. All right, Mike Blue asked perhaps the most important question of the show: how can I be cool like Ryan Wilson? Now, Rick, I'll ask you, how cool do you think I am? I guess that's where we should start.
What is he describing as cool? What's his definition of cool?
I have a lot of questions as well. Like, if this guy thinks this is cool, he might need to get Paramount Plus to see what cool looks like.
An aging bald man who wears parachute pants every day that we were on the road is not a cool look.
Rick, we have a big celebration coming up next month, Rick, for Ryan.
Yeah.
It's an important number for him.
Turning 50, Rick. Can you believe that?
Are you going to be 50?
Yeah.
Really? I thought you already passed that. Yeah, no. Boy, some of us age differently.
Hey, by the way, just so we're clear, Deebo, parachute pants, that's what Rick calls joggers. Like, he absolutely hates joggers. He doesn't like elastic around the bottom of your pants for some reason. He did not like me wearing those on the road.
Do you have any other pair besides parachute pants?
Yeah, I have a couple. I had to buy some recently, though, because I go through phases. I love joggers. He doesn't, it's easy. It's comfortable. We're at pro days. We're not doing job interviews in a office setting.
Well, I was going to say, Ryan, you need to flash those tattoos that you flashed earlier in the podcast to show, really.
Yeah, Deebo, how you like that?
Rick's seen Snoopy, right?
Have you seen the Snoopy tattoo, Rick?
I am love you as a friend, but I just purely want to keep it there. I don't need to see any tattoos anywhere on your body. Thank you very much.
To be clear, like Deebo, I never wore anything but sweatshirts around Rick because he likes to flash the guns, and I don't want to be outmanned. So I usually had my arms covered. And I mean, that shirt, if that shirt is not a kid's medium, let's be honest. All right, so
that was like one of my bad dad jokes, although I'm only allowed to have one today, Deebo said, so I can't use it yet.
All right, Mike, thank you for the question. It is tough being as cool as me, but we have a minute left. So, Rick, in this minute, as many dad jokes you can rip off, because Dynasty Burner asked top 5 dad jokes. Not just any crappy dad jokes. We want the good ones. All right, let's go.
Yeah, no, I can only give one because Deebo gave me a limit, but I may squeeze in two.
Whatever you can get in a minute.
Yeah, okay. Well, unfortunately, did you know?
Oh, God.
The person who invented the throat lozenge passed away. And I went to his funeral, but there was no coffin.
Oh, God. That's one. Go ahead. We'll rank the
You're not
ones we
laughing
get.
at that. Huh?
We'll rank the ones we get to. That's one, and that one's going to be pretty low.
Huh?
We're going to rank them. Go ahead. Give us another one.
Yeah, someone told me the other day that they looked at me and says, "Boy, you have a dad bod." And I says, "What are you talking about? I thought I was more of a father figure."
Oh my God, that's somehow worse than the one you just told. Go ahead. What's next?
Uh,
Who's got to
my
read it?
neighbor the other day, right? I went to his tool shed and he pointed to a ladder in his tool shed and he said, "That's a step ladder." I didn't know who my real ladder was.
Oh, God. That's slightly better than the last one, but not great. All right, do another one just so we can have 4, and then
Okay. I'm learning to help around the house, and my wife asked me if they see, and this is good for you, Ryan. You can use this
good.
at home.
I'll take notes. Go ahead.
My wife asked me, "Did you see the dog bowl?" I said, "I didn't know he can bowl."
All right, Deebo, which one? And this is tough. Which one was the worst of those? I think I'm going with number 2. Number 2 was terrible.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I think Rick laughed the hardest at himself at the last one.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just proud of getting through most of them. But,
No, yeah, it's just like my brother-in-law who was addicted to the hokey pokey. It was a tough couple of years, but eventually he turned it around.
Yeah. You are never, ever getting Paramount Plus, just so you know. Ever. Over my dead body. All right, so Dynasty Burner, I hope that made your day. Those top 5 dad jokes, share them at Memorial Day at your barbecue. Do it towards the end of the barbecue because they will kick you out if you say it early. But that's it. Thank you, Jesus, for wrapping up this thing with Deebo. No more dad jokes.
One more, just to go.
All right, one more for the road. What do you got? Go ahead.
How
One more for the road.
Yeah. How much did the pirate pay for his earrings?
I want to say it's like booty. It's not R. What is it?
A buccaneer.
Oh, actually, that's not terrible. That's your best one. That's all right. We're out. We're like George Costanza. We're out. That's it. That's a wrap of episode 53.
Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. We'll see you guys next week.